Hey everybody. So, as you can see, I've had quite the productive week. In fact, most of this work that I've done to the fuselage has been just in the past couple days. It's kind of one of those things. I started working on it, just planning on doing a few things to make it worthy of an update video. And before you knew it, I had the fuselage pretty much wrapped up. First of all, we'll get into all this loveliness back here in a minute. Let me get this flipped around. So as you can see, there's some little push rods and some housing showing here. Well, before I could sheet the back of the fuselage, as I've stated in previous videos, I had to figure out how I was going to run my servos. Because I'm using a lightweight engine, I didn't want to put the servos in the back, so I had to figure out how I'm going to put them in the front. And as you can see right here, it's still up to my imagination where the servos are going to go, but I have all my housings right here. Now only two of these are actually going to be used with push rods. These two black ones on the end are going to be for my elevators, and I will be using the giant scale Sullivan Nyrod to go through there. Now these four right here are the standard Nyrod housings, but I'm not going to be using the Nyrods. Now what these are for is the two outboard blue housings here. They go up through the fuselage and come out here and here, and they're set at the appropriate angle to come right out to meet a servo, to meet a control horn on either side of the rudder, and I'll have a pull cable. Now the two inner housings, they also run through the fuselage, and they come out the bottom for pull on the tail wheel. And you can see I also put on a tail wheel mount and got everything under there sheeted. Still haven't finished the sheeting right there on the stab, but we'll get into that. And the black housing for the elevator push rod is protruding outward just to eliminate flex, because that's quite a distance to go from there back to the elevator, so I want to actually use the housing to eliminate as much flex as possible, even though that giant scale rod is pretty stout. So in here, right around this area, I'll have just a single rudder servo with a long double-sided arm. The outer holes will be for the rudder, and I'll step in a couple holes for the tail wheel. That'll be pretty good. Then up here somewhere I'll put the two servos for the elevators. Though you can't see it right now because it's sheeted, I took a few pictures, as you can see here. So what I did is kind of started at the back by opening up a couple holes and routing the push rods through, and then just seeing where everything connects. And everywhere they connected, I really sealed them up good with epoxy and micro balloons to eliminate flex. And these are very, very, very solid. So they don't look, they're not the prettiest thing to look at, but overall they're definitely going to do the trick. So once all that was done, I was able to finish up the fuselage as far as sheeting goes. And as you can see, I did it just like the rest. For some reason, this turned out better than up there, which is kind of weird, because here most of these radiuses are pretty flat. Even they are round, but they're still kind of flat. Where back here, everything is really round, but the sheeting turned out a lot better. No real rhyme or reason to it. At least I can't figure it out. But yeah, it turned out nice. And I figured, well, why stop there? I went ahead and permanently secured the rudder in place, which left this area open. So once that was glued in, I carved out my dorsal fin, put that on. As you can see, the filler to blend it's still rough. I haven't sanded that out yet. Feels like it's probably pretty close to being done. Then last night, there's a couple things going on back here. There's this piece right here, which is what gives it the, kind of the nice, fillet type fairing for the rudder. This was supplied in the kit, just had to put it in place, get it lined up, glue it in. But to fill in this area right here, there was nothing marked on the plans, nothing in the kit. So with a little bit of balsa and a little bit of filler and a metric F-ton of sanding, got this fillet nice and done. It's still going to take a little bit more work up in here, but as you can see, the elevator halves are not glued yet, and that's rather strategic. So I don't want to glue those on until I'm ready to put the final coat on here. This has all been sanded and it's nice and smooth. There's a couple little spots that need some touch up, but I'm not going to do that until after I get the stab glued on. Let's see what else. Let me get this thing turned around here. Trying to do it with one hand and not break something can be difficult. So now what's left on the back, let's get rid of this guy here. Stay. So as you can see, the fillet on the back really turned out nice. Like I said, it just needs a little bit of touch up with a little bit of filler. But it really turned out nice. I'm super happy with that. So now what's left to do back here is there's two more ribs that have to go in here. Oh, there's a bug crawling on me. Just got done doing leaves. Oh, excuse me. So once I put these other two ribs on, I can kind of brace these a little bit because they're kind of flexible. I don't want them to be twisted when I sheet it. So I'll put a couple braces in there just to hold them in place. Then I can sheet this top and bottom. Then once that's sheeted, I can put on my tail block and carve that. You can still see under here I need to sheet this area, but that's not going to take much time. For the push rod exits, you can see they're kind of not pretty looking because in order to get this piece of sheeting on there, I had to make a large opening so I could get the sheeting into place and move it around and get it glued. And that was kind of the same thing for the one for the tail wheels, or for the tail wheel push rod, and for the rudder pull system. So I had to make a large opening just to get the sheeting into place. Then once it's in, just kind of pop in a couple pieces of balsa. I mean, there's not even any filler over this, and it's just as smooth as can be. And there's still a couple spots that need just a little bit of filler. The downside to covering a plane like this with monocoat is a round fuselage. It's hard to get it really round and really smooth. And the issues, believe it or not, are not where the sheeting meets. This is not the issue where it's not round. It's where you can feel stringers underneath the structure. Like where it wraps around a stringer, sometimes it has a little bit of a buckle. So you got to get a little creative with sanding and try not to sand too much. And at the same time, try not to use too much filler, because if you use filler, as you're sanding the filler, you're also going to be sanding away some wood, and you don't want to do that. But the positive side to all this is look at the full-scale Chipmunk, for instance, or any other airplane that has a built-up structure that's sheeted with metal sheets, like a P-51, P-47. You know, all your heavy metal warbirds are the same way. So when this is covered, if it's not 100% super round and super smooth, it has a little indentations here and there, you can't get more scale than that. So I'm using scale accuracy as my own personal laziness. Because go up to a full-scale aircraft that's built like this, you know, not balsa wood, but you know, the full-scale Super Chipmunk, for instance, you know, you can see waviness in the sheeting, and you can see where it's not 100% perfectly round. So if this thing was just glass smooth, just smooth as silk, that's not realistic. Of course, I'm just using that excuse to my benefit. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, probably do a little bit more work on it tonight. Get all this finished up back here, do the rest of the sheeting on the bottom. Then I can go ahead and permanently glue the stabs into place. Because all I'm going to do for that is is just kind of use an acid brush, smear some epoxy on the tubes, then just slide them in. Then once that's in, I'll put a little bit of filler over these areas, kind of blend in this area a little bit more. This is kind of just, you know, jammed full of balsa and just a little bit of filler to get the right shape. And I'm trying not to make too many really large round radiuses back here, because this is all going to be covered in monocoat, and covering this kind of stuff is a pain in the ass. It really is. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's not easy. So this is all drying up nice. I'm going to do a little bit of filler work on the fuselage, not a ton, because like I said, I'm okay. And a lot of this you can just see a little bit of the CA. Like when I lay on a sheet, sometimes, you know, before or while it's setting up, I'll just wipe the glue with my finger, and then using a very custom-made little sanding block that's got 60 grit on one side, 220 on the other. After I put this piece into place, you know, kind of smear out the glue with my finger. I'll hit it real quick with the 60 grit, so it uses the CA as a filler. And then turn it right around and hit it with the 220 to smoothen it out. But still, on occasion, you get a little bit of area where you can see a little bit of discoloration due to the CA. But this will not show through the covering. Not at all. But anywhere where there's actually a crack, you know, like right here, all those teeny little areas will have to get filled in, just because that gives an area for the covering material not to adhere to. And the biggest secret to covering is making sure that it's stuck everywhere. And I am just beside myself on that fillet right there. That really does look nice. My battery's gonna die here. I'm gonna have to change it out. Stand by. Alright, just had the battery quit on me there. Where was I? Oh, so yeah, these fillet areas worked out really nice. They're really easy to make just by cutting a couple pieces of curved balsa. They kind of follow the contour of the stab. And it took, I think, 1, 2, 3 1/4-inch pieces. Then using a ruler and using the side of the fuselage as a guide and transferring that line onto this piece of top skin here, setting that piece that I carved, which then came out like this, using that reference line, cut it, put it in place, and then where it comes up to this point right here, it's obviously taller, so I took a pencil, drew around it following the contour of the fuselage, and I basically sanded it almost perfect to the shape I needed before I glued it in place. And that's kind of the secret for this, because just putting a block in there and then trying to sand it to this shape once it's in place, it's very difficult to do without, you know, running the risk of sanding through your previous skins. So that worked out quite well. You can see there's still a little spot there where I didn't get enough filler in there, and you know, that's no big deal. I've already done this area with the fin, and I just did this where the dorsal fin meets the fuselage, and that feels like it's pretty much ready to be sanded. Kind of on a side note, even though I have no intentions of flying this old Goldberg Extra anytime soon, I've been doing a little bit of work on it. This cowl is junk. It's been cut for a motor that I'm not going to use. So when I do get to this project, that cowl's going bye-bye. But the big problem was trying to match paint for the landing gear and the canopy, and soon to be the cowl, that matched this metallic green monocoat. And it took 3 different cans of paint before I found one that's acceptable. It's still not exactly the same color, and this is terrible lighting, but you can see it's close enough. And this is actually a Tamiya spray paint. I'm kind of nervous because it's not really adhering too well. I did prime it, but it's just, I don't know, I feel like if I put a piece of tape on there, especially when I do the cowl, this was never finished. So this is going to be white going across, green on the top with a black pinstripe. I'm just nervous if I put a piece of tape on there when I do the black pinstripe and pull it off. I think it's going to pull that green paint off. So I'm going to have to do some more experimenting and figure out what I'm going to do with that. Other than that, I've just been kind of working on that on the sidelines just a little bit. Let's see what else. Oh, so let me know in the comments section below. I've had a few... boy, I shouldn't stand in front of that mirror. I'm not wearing a shirt. I don't want to scare everybody away. Do it over here where I'm not visible. So I've had a few people inquire about kind of doing a video of a tour around my my basement hangar and my other facilities where I keep some of my larger airplanes that don't exactly fit in the house. If that's something you guys would like to see, let me know. I'll do a special video on that because I got a lot of stuff. I mean, just a really quick overview. I got my transmitter collection. You know, there's planes up in the corners. You know, there's planes under planes on the walls, on the ceilings. Over here, you know, a kit collection. You know, above the laundry, above the storage, by the water heater. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And usually when I post a video, somebody will ask a question, you know, hey, what was that airplane, you know, that I saw in the background there? So, and even planes back there, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. I mean, hell, up there, up here, pieces over there, yeah, everywhere. So if that's something you guys would like to see, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do a video on that. But I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break for a while because I got a ton of work done that I really wasn't planning on. I was not planning on getting it to this stage this weekend. Honestly, I really wasn't. But I'm glad I did, because it's really rewarding when you get to a point in the construction where you can grab the airplane and it's the airplane. You know, you're not grabbing the skeleton construction underneath. You know, when you put your hands on it, it's the finished airplane. That's always a very exciting point of the construction. It is getting very, very close to covering. Very close. I'm still dreading this nightmare right here, the wing fillet. I still don't exactly know how I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm avoiding this thing like the plague. I'm avoiding this center section like how most people are avoiding the Rona. Just had to throw that in there. I'm one of the... Yeah, I'm not getting into that. But anyways, so that's about it for now. I think all I'll do for the rest of the day is sand this down, get it nice. I might do some sheeting back here, but I doubt it. And if I'm not mistaken, one of these pieces in the back is a lot lower than the other one. Yeah, you can see it in the camera. The one closest to me is actually lower. So I'm going to have to put the elevators on, tape the ends so they don't move, check the incidents, and then adjust these accordingly. Because I don't want to sheet these if they're crooked, because then my elevators are going to have to be crooked. We don't want that. I want this airplane to fly straight. So, there we have it. Until the next time. Oh, hold on just a minute. I got to get something ready. Hold on, stand by. Alright, so I didn't have the TV going, which I promised I would. Today's video or subscriber highlight is Big Sky Hobby Corner. Let me, there he is right there, Big Sky Hobby Corner. This guy, it's another one of those guys that I feel that we are somehow related. Because not only does he specialize in flying classic sport planes, right now he's working on a SIG 4-star 60, but the best part of it is he's covering it in coverall, doing the old silk and dope method. And he's doing a step-by-step on how to build like this, which is really a dying art, at least for this category of modeling. normally only see people building with the silk and dope methods for, scale aircraft, like a Stearman or World War I type airplanes. You don't see too many people doing this on, sport planes anymore. In fact, you don't see a lot of sport planes. So I love watching his videos. Even though this is all stuff I know how to do, I've done it, I enjoy watching it. Like right now, he's taping his seams and just going over everything, all the materials you need. So definitely check him out. Big Sky Hobby Corner, entertaining stuff. And he tends to not have much of a filter, which I kind of like. He says it how it is, and I love it. Excellent videos, so definitely check them out. Alright, I'm going to do a little sanding, and then put it away for a while, and I kind of need a break. I got a lot of work done, so I'm way ahead of schedule. Alright guys, later.